We are live. What's going on, everybody? It's your boy Eric, aka Young God, coming to you live in the Orange Dungeon, giving it to you real raw rugged. And I have somebody on the other line. I'm gonna let him introduce himself. Before I let him introduce himself, I usually let people do their own introduction, but I just have to say, it's a very nice guy. Before we start his interview, gave me compliments. I really appreciate that. It was really nice of you to have do that. So just want to say thank you on camera too, as well, man.
Fantastic. Thank you for being here. My name is Dominic Rabrun. I go by Dom. I'm an animator and I do a lot of things like writing, directing, producing, and I do a lot of stuff.
Now, you know one thing that I feel like you should add because I think that's really important that you
What's
don't
that?
say? Multitasker. Because the fact that you can talk
Yeah.
to people and draw, that's pretty
Yeah.
ridiculous. That's pretty
Yeah,
ridiculous.
dude. Drawers are like I know I'm pretty rare for that because drawers are sort of like I don't know, they're sort of like specialists in the sense that it's a very rare skill where you basically exist in a whole nother reality and
Mm.
then you turn it into reality, like you turn what is not real into what is real, and that involves you existing in this alternate dimensional space. So a lot of drawers, animators, visual artists, you'll find that they're not really interested in using words to express themselves. Musicians also exist in that space where it's like they speak through music, so like talking and communicating traditionally isn't really like their thing.
I think it's really interesting that I think you might be the no, you're the second visual artist I've ever interviewed. So I think it's interesting talking to visual artists because I suck at visual art. Like I can barely write legible, so I definitely can't draw a line and make it look good or whatnot.
Mm,
And it's funny because I went to an art school. It was a school of arts, so you got music, dance, acting,
okay.
comedy, writing, whatever. And I was in the band or whatnot, and I just seen that like the people in like the band, they were like they were just like the dumbest niggas. Like they were like the niggas like I guess y'all got art, but like the people that were dancing, the people that were visual artists, like you guys, like you tap into like
Mm,
another like zone or another realm. You know, I think you
yeah.
guys tap into like just a very specific realm. And shout to Spencer. I always say he's like my only white friend. Shout to Spencer. He's a very dear friend of mine, and he's an artist. And I actually want to show you his work later on. I feel like you'll like him. He's doing a lot. He's gonna have a really crazy year this year, and just the way like he focuses in and he gets his like creativity. I feel like you guys tap into a different part of your brain. I don't know if it's like a scientific study on that, but yeah, do you agree that like you guys tap into like a different part of your brain than other arts would compared to like a dancer or a creative writer or something like that?
Um, I I say yes and no. Yes, in the sense that like a different part of our brain. I think kind of like I I say no because I think like I feel like we're not special in a way because everyone has what we have. But I think it's sort of like a I don't know if you call it a gland. It's some kind of thing where if you have any young children in your family, just do this exercise with them where it's like you give them a piece of paper and you give them a colored pencil, they go.
Mm.
They just go. And I'd say before the age of like 5 or 6, they're going and they don't know why, but they just grab the pencil and they're going for it. I remember doing it and you did it too, right?
Yeah.
That's the thing. And I think that's what all artists have, and that's what all people have. But it's a weird thing that happens around I'd say like 7 or 8, people start dropping off, and then they don't do it as much. It's like and I think it's because it's sort of like people on the outside are like, oh, why do you keep doing that? You know, you can't get a job doing that, or maybe they don't get the attention from it. I mean, because a lot of people like make art for attention, and I think I count myself in that number, but I think um I guess to answer your question more directly, I'm going to contradict myself. It is tapping into a different part. I think it's really the subconscious. Like I meditate every day now, most days,
Mhm.
and like when I'm in there, when I'm meditating, like I I can access like it's almost like a lucid dreaming world where like I have these really vivid, crazy images happening, and everyone dreams, right? So it's kind of like it's like a well, and you're just sort of scooping the water from that. And if you get like a couple drops of that water, it's like LSD or something.
Mm. I think you guys are like, because you bring up kids, and when you're a kid, and when you get to a certain age, it kind of changes. I think you guys, like visual artists are like kids in this sense. I was looking at the show on Netflix. I forget what it's called, but it's like a Brainiac type show, and it was showing basically younger kids have a more creative imagination. So if you show a kid a picture, like a very abstract picture, and say, "What do you see?" They'd be like, "Oh, I see a man flying. I see this right here." But if
Yeah,
you show
yeah.
an adult that, they'd just be like, I don't know, it's a whole bunch of bullshit. You know what I'm saying? But the kid, they're going to go all over the place. I see this, I see that. And I feel like very like great visual artists, they still have that in their brain. Like if you show them a very abstract picture, they'll be like, oh, I see a bird dropping off, instead of just giving a very vague, I see nothing.
Yeah, and it's such a valuable thing. And like another thing I wanted to touch on, that you were saying that you're not good at the visual arts, but like I disagree, because you have an aesthetic. It's like, it's the bonnet. It's like you're in the pink room, you're in the orange room. You're already doing stuff that's different. You already have a specific taste, and you're executing on that taste, and it's a visual taste.
Mm.
There are certain visual choices that I see you doing that most people wouldn't do, and I would sort of challenge you to just play with this idea that like I don't think drawing is limited to just pencil to paper anymore. Like as I'm getting older, I'm really starting to change my mind on what drawing even is. And I think especially now, since we're on YouTube and we're doing this thing that's very new, like we couldn't do this 6 years ago, right? It's like I'm looking at your channel right now, and I'm seeing it's like pink, 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 orange, orange, and I think um you're drawing with your videos. Even when you're interviewing people, you might not think so, but like you're really good at talking to people and interviewing them, even random strangers. And I see it happening where it's like you ask them a question and they say something, and you're sort of bending their words around. And I think that's drawing in a way. It's like, imagine if someone uh says something to you, and I think you know what you're doing, but people probably don't see it happening. Like someone who is not really great at communicating. It's like the words come out of your mouth, and you know what you're doing with them, and you're moving them around. They probably don't even see it happening, but I feel like that's drawing. Do you know what I'm saying? Like,
See,
you can draw with words.
So you just did it right there. Like my channel and what I do, just a big mess. You somehow looked at that mess and you said, you know what? I see color. I see, like, that's what you do. Like you see beyond the mess, and you could try to find art within that mess. Most people would just see that and just look at it in face value, like, oh, it's a bonnet or it's colors or whatever. But you see the whole craziness, and you pick out the little specific, you know what I'm saying? And I think
Yeah.
that's something that I feel like visual artists have more than most people who have an art skill. So if you're a creative writer or if you're a dancer or whatever, I feel like you guys tap into a different part that can make you guys, be more creative. I think that's really cool.
Yeah, we're also trained. I mean, like I went to school for this stuff. I went to art school too, but I think it's like I really think it's a muscle that you train. Because I mean, I've been doing this. I've been trained to think this way, where it's like I look at stuff in terms of composition, even if it's like a video where you're not supposed to be looking at it in terms of composition or something, or even like a YouTube channel. Like I'm constantly trying to think of ways to like break formulas and break formats, and like you're doing the same thing. And I think that's what's really valuable right now. And I think like I look at what you're doing, and I imagine like in a few years, maybe this year, you're gonna have brands asking you to do stuff, and they're gonna want you to change. They're gonna ask you to do little things like, could you not, like, well, we love this, but could you not? And it's like, nope, you got to stick with it, because that's your like you're painting with that stuff, and that's basically them gonna be telling you to change it. Do you have aspirations to work for brands? Like, what are your demands if a brand wants to work with you?
Well, like I really admire like the independent way of doing it yourself, because that's really cool. Like I get all of these interviews like by myself, and it's kind of hard. Like
I
sometimes
value it's I know the struggle, man. I
like it gets
know.
to the point where it's like like you want to do it by yourself, but it's like it wouldn't be bad if like I had like a company behind me that was reputable. They'd be like, oh, he works for this person. Of course I do interview, instead of like, who is this shady guy on YouTube with a bonnet on trying to
Yeah,
interview?
yeah.
So yeah, I mean, but when it comes to brands or companies or whatever, I really haven't had any. Like I've had a couple like music and record labels come just be like, hey, like, can you check out our artist music and tell me what you think. Like, but that's really nothing more than that.
Mm.
Nothing too
I,
crazy.
I think the way you're doing it is perfect, and you'll just like I remember going through the same thing as you, and I guess I'm still in it, where it's just like you get this person, and then that allows you to get this person and and
Hmm.
it's just a game of just it's just centimeters that you're building on. It's just tiny little, and until you get that one, and then it's like, oh, okay, now you can just jump really high. People are like, oh my god, how did you interview? How did you interview? What's Drake's producer? What's his name? 40.
40.
I don't know why that's the first person I thought of. It's like, how'd you interview 40? I don't know why I said 40 and not Drake is like, I mean, he doesn't even do interviews.
Yeah, that's like a mythical creature. It's like interviewing a mythical creature at that point.
You think he's weird to talk to?
Um,
You
every
think
time I see
Drake's so
Drake, every time I see Drake in an interview, he seems like pretty normal. Like I seen his Narwhal interview, and he seems
Oh,
like
it's
a
great.
normal guy. I
You
don't know if
can't
he is, but I don't know.
you bet like if you're Drake, dude, you gotta wake up in the middle of the night and just you sit up and you look in the mirror and you're like, you know what you are inside your head, but then you look in the mirror and you know you're Drake with capital D. You're
Yeah.
this thing that people have attached to you. And it's like this, I love Astro World and I love Sicko Mode, but like I love that line, she's in love with who I am. Cause I'm
Mm,
just like, he's breaking down pretty much whole activity right there, but he's
yeah.
really breaking it down in the sense of like, a persona can be so much more powerful than even you are. Like someone can
Mm,
look at you and not even see a person. They're just seeing numbers. They're just seeing what I can get from you. They're seeing opportunity, right? They're seeing their future potentially. It's crazy.
and that's crazy because even like deeper than that, I feel like when you think of a persona, not per se or not necessarily, but a persona doesn't have to be like an act or whatever. But for just speaking in this sense right here, I feel like when people look at certain people on the internet, they have a certain type of what's the word? They have a certain type of like view of them. They have a certain type of perspective. So like somebody might see me, some see my videos, like, oh, he's gonna be like a hyper guy. When I see him, he's gonna be funny, this and that. When people
Yeah.
meet me, I'm a really calm, I'm a really quiet person. If you look at my videos, you might think I'm like hyper on 10 all the time, but I am really, really shy. I'm really quiet. I'm very, very opposite off camera. So I feel like these personas could be dangerous because the way people perceive certain people, like they would say first impressions is like the most important. So when they see a person on YouTube, they see a person on a music video, that's their first impression. And they're like, oh, that person is like this. So they may approach that person thinking, oh, this is the way they approach a person like this, but that's not the way. So yeah, I feel like personas are really dangerous things because a lot of people don't know how to distinguish between real life and kind of the internet.
Well, I think it's I'm I'm a futurist, I think, and I'm really like I talk about androids and like do you like Blade Runner?
Oh yes, we're gonna talk about that later. But
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
Blade Runner is really interesting. I have something to say about Blade Runner. But
Okay.
yeah, it's interesting.
I'm so into that stuff, and I feel like we're gonna be on the cusp of. I think we're all honestly already in it, where we're living in two realities. Where it's like when you're on your phone, you even if you're not a public persona, like everybody has it.
Yeah.
We're just conscious of it right now. I believe in the future, everyone's going to be trying to do what we do. Like
Hmm.
we're sort of like pioneers, Oregon Trail type shit. But like you already see it happening. Like like I'm going to sort of get off topic for a second, but like big companies like Apple and Spotify and all this are jumping hard on the podcast wave because they're realizing that these big companies and the stuff that they've been putting on TV and all that shit, like no one gives a shit about Netflix right now. Like
Yeah.
it's too much. All we want are real conversations. We want real people putting like risking things by really expressing themselves. But I think that's like I think we're going to see a blending of reality and the digital world where it's like you're switching in between personas all the time. So it's like people are your friends who aren't content creators are still doing that, even if they don't know it, because they'll be on. I don't know if you have any. All right, we're gonna shit on them for a second. Boring friends who have IGs and they're sort of like doing the same thing as everybody else, sort of like
Yeah.
very
Of course.
normal,
Of
but like
course.
they want likes, so they're doing what everybody else is doing.
Yeah.
Specifically, I mean, like, you know, like chicks will do this where they'll have like, okay, they know if they turn around and show the ass this way, their numbers will go up, and that's a persona though. It's they're playing, and we're all doing this right now.
I think that's really interesting. As you're talking, I'm trying to find it so I don't mess it up. But I think this is it right here. All right, so yeah, I think it's a Goffman theory. So you were talking about yeah, that's what it's called. Okay, so you were talking about being kind of like these personas, and we're conscious of it, and even if you're not trying to do it, things like that. So I go to school for psychology. And I'm really interested in psychology because I know a lot of people tell me like I should go to school for like communication and stuff, but I feel like what I'm trying to do, I kind of want to like learn like people better because I feel like that'll help me in working. Because since I talk to people all the time and I'm working with people, I feel like if I can understand the human brain, that will take me further than working with communications because I feel like I know how to talk to people. But if you
Yeah.
can understand the person and the brain, I feel like that'll take you further. So I took sociology this past semester, and there's this thing called dramaturgical approach. Are you familiar with that?
No.
Okay, so the dramaturgical approach is made by Irving Goffman. He's a psychologist, and the whole thing is this thing where we're like living in a big play. So this whole earth is a play, and you have front stage and you have backstage. Front stage is, I mean, your front stage is basically you on stage and you're putting out what you want to see. You're acting. You know, you may go to work and you may be on your phone. Then you see your boss come and you put your phone down. You act like you're doing your work or whatever. But
Yeah.
then you're just putting on. But backstage is when you're more comfortable. You got your guards down or whatnot, and you're not putting on this kind of mask and this kind of persona to please everybody else because backstage you're not in front of the crowd anymore. You're kind of more reserved and things like that. So I think it's really interesting that you bring up people putting on these personas because it's really the whole dramaturgical approach because everything is like everybody's front stage. Everybody is like putting on for like Instagram. Instagram is front stage now because you're not gonna be super yourself on Instagram because people are scared of being judged, or like you said, they want to fit in with everybody, so they're making their Instagram this certain way. So yeah,
Right.
I think that's a really interesting like whole thing. I don't know, that's interesting to me.
But I think everything is kind of a performance. Like
Yeah,
I think even backstage is a performance. I
really.
think, and this is kind of weird, but I think even if you're by yourself, you're performing in a
Mm.
way because
Explain.
it's like you always have thoughts going on in your head, right? You're always talking to yourself. Everyone's doing it. You always got monologue. You see someone in the street and it's like, oh, it's a person, and you're just thinking about them. And you think about yourself in relation to them. If you're by yourself, you're like, what should I be doing right now? You're thinking about what's going on. And I feel like that back and forth, that dialogue with oneself is almost like it's like a soliloquy when you're on stage. It's like a
Mm.
Shakespeare when Hamlet is holding the skull. I know it's not meant to be front stage, right? That's a moment where you're supposed to be like, shit. How do I explain it? It's like when the stage lights are, it goes dark and the spotlight is on you. It's supposed to be a private moment, right?
Yeah.
But it's still you being like, I don't know. It's like I feel like even if you're by yourself, you're performing for yourself almost.
Mm.
Even if it's like I just want to relax, relaxation to me sometimes seems performative, and I don't really know what I'm talking about right now.
No, I
I've
think I get what you're saying. I think like basically, I don't know, man. It's kind of like we're already like taught things, like we taught social norms and
yeah.
values and things like that. So even if like we're trained, like our brain is already like wired to be a certain way. So it's not like we can 100% unbiasedly be ourselves because we're trained to be a certain way. So I kind of get what you're trying to say.
Yeah, because right. So backstage, it's like there's this implication. It's like no one's looking back there, right?
Yeah.
It's like I'm completely free of any judgment or any. But it's
Yeah.
like I guess what I'm getting at is like you're always observing yourself,
Mm.
even if no one else is watching you.
Yeah.
You still are seeing yourself. It's almost like okay, if you're by yourself and you're doing something bad, where does that guilt come from, right? It's like, what's that
Mm,
feeling? It's usually the voice of your parents, the voice of your loved ones being like, you know, you're not supposed to be doing that. Okay,
yeah.
I'll stop that. You know you shouldn't be doing, or you might even pat yourself on the back, which I think I honestly have trouble with patting myself on the back when I'm doing something good. Usually the voice in my head is trying to stop me from doing things or like chastising myself.
Yeah.
But like I'm trying to get better at being like, you're doing great. This is actually a really good job and all that sort of stuff. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like I don't know, like sociology, like after taking this class, it talks about a lot of that stuff, and it's just, I don't know, it makes you just like look at the world different. Are you like into like stuff like that, like sociology, psychology?
Uh I think in a general sense, like if someone tells me like the theories you were telling me about all this stuff, I think it's super interesting. I think it's if I had to go back to school, I probably wouldn't take one of those classes. It's a little too science. Is there math involved?
No, it's not at all.
Okay,
It's
because that's
basically
scary.
like no. Our class is basically we sit down and like he was like a crazy dude. We just sit down and we'll talk about stuff and it's just you talk. It's really what we're doing right now. We just talk and we theorize. I mean, we theorize about stuff. It's really that. It's a
Hmm.
really interesting class.
So, what are you happy with being in school right now? Are you in
Um,
debt? Like, what's going on with that?
nah, I got financial aid.
Nice. That's what I like, man. Financial aid is beautiful, dude. That's what we. It's so fucked up that any of us had to pay for school. Like I
Yeah.
got a lot of financial aid too. Poor. I was considered financially independent. Um, I'm sure I got some stuff for being a black person. I don't know. I don't know if that's a thing. But we all should. I mean, honestly, I think we should also all get credit for that. We should all get financial credit for going to school.
No, that's a fact. It's definitely an interesting thing. You said, "Am I happy about being in school?" Yeah, I feel like I won't be happy if like 10 years from now I'm still in school and
Mm.
nothing else is like popped off from me and I'm just like still in school. Then I'd be like, wow, I kind of just like I don't know. So like a long time from now. So I hope I'm not in school by now and I'm still trying to do YouTube. That'd be pretty trash. So hopefully things are better 10 years from now. But yeah, for right now, I've just I haven't been in college for that long. So yeah, it's pretty cool so far. So far.
Yeah, just keep up with what you're doing. But like, are you gonna stay in Florida though?
I don't know. I mean, probably like I'm going to 'cause I'm in a community college right now, but I'm going to transfer to university, but it's a university within my city. So yeah, I'm probably going to stay in Florida.
I mean, like, I think the education system should change as well. Like, my my kooky prediction is that we'll have Google and Amazon universities where you just pay
Mm,
$50 a year and get the same amount of information. I mean, information is free right now. I mean,
pretty
and
much.
I don't know why Harvard costs more than community college, honestly. And I think we're gonna have to have that discussion soon of like why, like why should I pay $300,000 a year for this shit? What is the information that they're getting? Is it better than mine? You know?
I tell people that it's like I know people want to go to the big colleges, but I'm like, I'm in community college right now, and I'm pretty sure I'm learning the same stuff as you right now, and I'm like doing it for much cheaper. So yeah, I don't get that at all. I think people are very stuck up on the college experience. I don't know if you ever heard that before. People want to experience college,
What,
like
drinking and
living in a
fucked up.
dorm. Living in a dorm, I guess, being on your own. I guess people want to like, go off and from their parents and live in a dorm and get drunk and get a train ran on them. Like, I don't know, man.
That's the dream.
It's really what it is, man. They want trains ran on
I'm sitting there like, Dad, I want to get a train ran on me. He's like, what's that?
them.
That's like the corny. That's like the corny movie with the white dad is like, whoa, Melanie, what's that? He looks at the you know what I'm talking about?
That's exactly what it is.
He's Googling it. Whoa. Yeah, he has no clue.
What is a train? Yeah, that's pretty much what it is, man. That's pretty much what it is. Like when you went to college, did you have any crazy experience?
Look at me, dog. I was fucking playing Final Fantasy. Didn't know how to talk to girls, dude. The crazy experiences was me going home early because I was a commuter and playing video games till 2 a.m. Crazy experiences, dog. I probably wouldn't even say on would I tell you one? Damn. Honestly, I don't have any. Like,
Mm.
dude, I was so bad. Like I think I'm a I'm a late bloomer in the sense that like I'm 31 now, and I think it's just been like the last 5 years when I've been like, holy shit! Like I've always been a really friendly guy and super talkative, but I think I wasn't. Um, I I was always getting put, and I hate using the words friend zone, but like I think I was not really. I didn't understand how to be myself.
Mm,
I didn't understand like, oh, you know what? I think it's really this. It's like I didn't understand what was attractive to me in what why other people were attracted to me, and that's a really bad thing. Because if you don't know, then how the fuck can you communicate it? You know, like
good
it's
point.
silly. And now I'm at the point where it's like I just keep getting more and more comfortable with myself to the point where it's like if I meet a woman, it's like I'm just gonna be talking about dead people and aliens and stuff, and it's just like they're either gonna be into it or not. But like they see I'm so comfortable in it, it's like I just want to talk about necromancy for 2 hours. Like are you gonna sit here? Because I know like you can either go and talk to the other guy about Nike shoes or whatever, but I'm gonna be talking about interesting shit. You know what I mean? Like and it's an asset. You know what I mean? Like I used
That's
to like,
funny.
oh, I'm such a nerd. I used to think like a little more. I think I was a lot more self-deprecating before, and I still am now. But now I'm realizing it's like holy shit! Like I'm getting older. I have all this really interesting stuff in my brain, and it's valuable. You know, like
Mm.
realizing that the weird stuff about me is valuable. But to answer your question, no weird stories because I was a commuter. I did not get invited to any parties because I wasn't cool. So yeah.
No, that's crazy that you say like girl want to talk about Nike shoes because like I have a lot of girls that told me like well I try to be myself around women because I feel like around women um if you're not being yourself and you're cheating yourself because let's say you're putting on a persona or you put on a front, you're
Mm,
eventually gonna have to let that guard down and then she's gonna be like this is not the guy I met 2 months ago, like what was going on. So I feel like when I'm myself, and you probably can attest to this, um women enjoy that because they can tell you're like being 100% you instead of trying to, like put on and be like, hey, I got the new Nike shoes, but you're talking about aliens or whatever. Like, like he's
yeah.
really being himself, and they like that quirkiness and stuff about that. So yeah, so for any men watching this out here that's struggling with the ladies, man, just be yourself, man. That's all I gotta say, man. Just be yourself. I don't know if you have any advice for men out there
Oh,
struggling.
I have so much. Dude, I went through so much. Like my journey of self discovery and like romance has been very weird, and I think I'm way more comfortable than I used to be, and it really has come down to I hate saying confidence, but it's really the most
Yeah,
biggest thing. Because I mean, you see guys who are like you see a lot of bad guys who are really successful with women because it's like they're just like it's on the table like their selves it's just boom even if it's evil even if what they
yeah,
are is just like evil and just deplorable it's just I'm right there. So I guess my first advice is to just be like um as corny as it sounds you got to have a lot of women friends. You have to have as
mm,
many female friends as possible because like I think on average they're way better at talking and expressing themselves than men because they're really good at expressing themselves emotionally as well and just they're just better at talking. And I don't know about I would imagine you're in the same class as me, but like I have to talk my way into everything. I'm not gonna walk
yeah.
into a club and have a bottle and shades. Like what the fuck? Like I have zero power unless I can talk. So I got to talk my way into every, and I learned how to talk from having a lot of female friends, and then eventually, like you'll learn. But I think that's the biggest advice I have.
I think we might be in the same boat right there where I have a lot of women friends. Like, I don't know what it is about women, but I really like relate with the women more than I kind of do men sometimes. Like, I can
Dude,
get like deeper with women than I can with men.
because men are scared. There's like they're fucking scared of being emotional with each other, and I
Yeah.
unfortunately like I fall into this all the time where it's like I can be a lot more emotionally deep and open and vulnerable with my girlfriends because it's like I feel like it's going to be less of a judgment sometimes or like you, you know like with dudes like you'll say something emotionally deep and it's like they either don't know how to react to it or they just clown you. So it's
Yeah.
like okay well
Definitely.
And so it's kind of like, okay, well, you're sort of socialized not to, especially as black men. Come on, it's ridiculous. And like I see myself doing it again. Back to the performative thing. We code switch. You're like we have to
Mm-hmm.
speak 3 different languages, and
Yeah.
it's like I notice myself doing it where it's like you'll meet certain men, and it's you're automatically just like you turn into a version of yourself that's like less emotionally deep, less connected. You're using less words, right? You're like, and that's the performance. But I think that self is honestly, it's sometimes it's like doing ourselves a disservice by not just being super open and just laying it out there. But it's hard with men, like, and I don't. It's difficult to connect that way sometimes.
Yeah, I don't even know if like I feel like I'm fine with it now, but like and like you said, you're not. I feel like you're when you're talking to men. For me, when I'm talking to men, it's like a certain, even if it's not a thick layer, it's like a certain layer up, like that I have. It's like a certain layer. But if I'm talking to a woman, it's like all the layers are gone, and I'm just like kind of bearing it all with her. It doesn't have to be a girlfriend; it can just be a friend. And
Yeah,
I feel like I can just like emotionally connect with her more rather than a dude. Because like I was talking to my homeboy the other day, and we were talking about these rappers down here. They're basically trying to kill each other. Like this is really
like
crazy.
Broward, those guys.
Nah, I'm in Jacksonville,
Oh,
not in
okay,
Miami. So I'm
my
in
bad. Okay.
Jacksonville. So that's a little bit Broward, like Miami, that's like down south, southern Florida. I'm in North Florida. So yeah, this is really crazy down here. So we're talking about them, and I said, man, I was looking at this Black Panther documentary, and I low key just like I was looking at Fred Hampton. I kind of wanted to get on like my Black revolutionary type thing, and he was like, man, I don't know what you talking about, man. He was like, man, you tripping, bro. I don't know what you. I'm like, what are you talking about? He was like, and we just trying to talk, and I'm like, bro, it ain't nothing wrong with saying I love my people, bro. He was like, hey man, you tripping, bro. I was like, come on, man. Like we can be emotional, bro, but it's hard to do
I
that, bro.
don't. I see that as less of an emotional problem and more of a like. It seemed like he just didn't want to even have a discussion about it. He seemed like he just
Pretty much.
he. It seemed like he shut down an opportunity for a really interesting.
And you know what's really funny? He wants to be a psychologist. And I tell him, my nigga, you are the most close-minded nigga I have ever met in my life. I remember I told him, I was like, bruh, if you had a gay nigga come in your shop, you would freak out, bruh. So he was like, nah, bruh, you ain't nothing wrong with gay niggas.
It's what he says when he's across from him. It's like, so I manifested my feelings for men. I feel like I've always. But hey, damn, that's gay. So I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Damn, bro.
Yo,
Go
look,
on.
so I'm telling him that, and he's like, nah, bro. He was like, it'd be cool. So I'm like, all right, whatever. So he called me like a couple days later. He was like, hey, man, you know something funny? I was like, what's up? He was like, so I go in my class, and I got a gay professor. And I'm like, oh, shit. I heard he be trying to talk to niggas. He was
No. Oh my fucking god. God,
like,
that's so
I was
dumb.
like, bro, you just said you'll be. I was like, come on, man, you can't be a psychologist, bro. So yeah, man, I don't know, man.
That's the biggest straight dude bullshit is like, and I remember like I grew up very conservative, super conservative Christian, so I remember all this shit, but it was like, and honestly, it's homophobia. It's like the main thing you'll hear from straight dudes is like, gay dude try to touch my dick, I'll fucking kill that nigga. It's like never happened. It has never fucking happened. Because gay dudes know other gay, like they know it's it just has never fucking
Yeah,
happened. And also, like they don't like you. It's like it's absurd. This and it's really a fear. It's like I'll fucking kill, I'll fucking beat his ass, and it's like no one ever fucking talked to you. It's like they could walk into a gay club and no one would fucking even look at them. So it's a very silly like. I really just hope we get over that shit, and I think this generation will really be the beginning of that. Because I mean, you see artists like Tyler, it's like we're already bending it. Even like Uzi Vert, guys like this are just
yeah,
already bending things of like how we're even supposed to interact with our own sexuality, especially as black men. It's kind of this thing of like we're expected to be a certain way when it's like I don't give a fuck. I'm just gonna be me. You know what I mean? And I hope everyone else feels that way because emotional depth and us accessing all that stuff that we're scared of, I think that's one of the keys also to like you were talking about empowerment in our community, and I think that's going to be a component of it. Is like there are a lot of people out there who are hurting because they're not being their authentic selves and they're hiding stuff. And I don't mean just with sexuality. I mean like
Hmm.
maybe it's like maybe they don't want to be. Maybe they've been pretending in other ways too. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
maybe they don't want to do what they want to do. Maybe their family annoys them or something, and they haven't confronted someone in their life or something like that. I don't know.
Well, something I kind of want to specify on is you talking about the bending and the kind of like playing both sides. I think that's interesting because I think that's kind of fire because it's kind of like what's the word? It's kind of like putting things in perspective and kind of like making people confused because when
Mm,
you see a gay dude, you're like, okay, this is my image of a gay dude, you know.
exactly.
So when you see Lil Uzi Vert and he's like doing the shoulder thing, and then next day you see him beat a nigga up in like the store, you like, hold on, what's going on? Like this nigga the king and the queen of Philly. So like this nigga's hard, bro. So it's like people like that. I think it's gonna take like a couple like super like thug gay niggas to come through. Like it's gonna have to be like a yeah nigga, I'm gay and I shoot you. And it's gonna be like, yeah, it's gonna be like, okay, what I'm gonna do. And then I feel like it's kind of gonna be people like, you know what? Because it's gonna take like street dudes gonna be like, you know what? I gotta respect that he's like one of us, but he's just like men, but he's still a real dude. And when I feel like things like that start happening, I feel like more dudes are gonna be like, you know what? I can rock with this. So I think it's gonna take like some just like I said, like some type of like fluidity, you know? That's like basically that, like the fluidity amongst genders.
I mean, that's the thing. It's like women have a lot more leeway with it, especially
Yeah.
like I said, black community. It's like, oh, they can like girls and kiss girls sometimes. And if you're a dude and you're like, oh, I kiss dudes sometimes, it becomes like a like, like
Yeah.
or you just get a label slapped on you. And what I am right now, I'm really on this like anti-label shit where it's like I don't really care what anybody is. Like I'll deal with you one on one. You want me to use a certain pronoun? You tell me like whatever it is your sexuality is, because like we're all different.
Hmm.
We're all gonna like because even if you identify as straight, you have different things that you like. You know what I mean? Like and everyone is different. And like we've only had two categories for what you could like
Yeah.
for the last I don't know however many years. So I think one unfortunate thing is like what you just said is like we're gonna need like dudes who fight to let us see
Hmm.
like homosexuality differently, and I wish it wasn't violence that would
Yeah.
make respect. You know, I wish it could just be like a guy, you know, Blood Orange.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
You know, a guy like that. It's like I mean, I wish that would just be enough to just see enough guys like that for us to be like, oh, okay, man, it's whatever. But I don't know, man. I don't know what it's gonna take, but I in terms of like the black community status right now, like I always talk to my friend about this, and she's more of a pessimist than I am, but I'm super optimistic, and I think we're seeing so many examples of black wealth and openness, especially with shows like this. You know, and I listen to Brilliant Idiots. I love Charlemagne and all these people. I mean, I'll even throw Budden into this, even though the guy's kind of nuts. I mean, like there are real honest conversations happening right now where people are really being like the Nipsey thing happened and people are not taking this shit laying down. And I feel like
Yeah.
there's been ripples where it's like Killer Mike is like coming out, he's swinging right now. I feel like things are really changing and we're the optimist in me is like we're looking at money differently and that's what really excites me is for black people to realize like we have power, we have buying power, and that buying power needs to go somewhere else other than the short term. It needs to like real estate, businesses, and that's
Yeah.
no one can take that shit away from you.
Shout out to Killer Mike for doing the whole like that show, the Trigger Warning, I
Trigger,
think it was called.
I still haven't
Yeah,
watched it.
it's good stuff. I haven't watched it yet, but from what I've heard, it's a lot of good stuff in there, and I really appreciate like promoting the businesses and the real estate, and really trying to invest your money and not like, hey, I got a big check, I'm finna go spend on a car, instead of hey, I'm finna go invest in a house or I'm finna go invest in stuff like that. So
Yeah,
yeah, that's definitely something we need to worry about. And it's really interesting that you bring up people like Charlemagne and Joe Button because all those people are interviewers. And I was hoping to do a perfect segue, and you set it up for me. You did the perfect alley oop, man. You gave it to me perfect, man. It gave me perfect sense for this interviewer segue. And I kind of want to talk about trash interviewers, man. So you do interviews, I
I
do
do.
interviews. There's a lot of trash interviewers out there. And before I get into my whole spiel, I want to ask you, what do you consider a trash interviewer?
Damn, like I won't even listen to them if they're trash. A trash interviewer, like my thing is, um, if they don't let the guest talk, very bad. Number two, they don't know how to control the energy and guide it. Like if they're scared, like you can tell, like
Mm,
trash interviewer is like this. And I mean, I can't blame them completely for this, but I'm going to show you. It's like, uh, you say something to me, and then it's like, okay, so it says you you went to school
yeah,
in something county, and like I didn't even address the thing you said, and
hate that.
I've fallen under that trap before. But the reason that happens a lot is because like it's like Yahoo is paying them, and it's like you got to get these questions off, and you can't have a natural conversation.
Mm,
This conversation we're having right now, honestly, it would not sound that different if we were off camera, which is that's a sign of a really good interview. Like
pretty
another
much.
trash, yeah, another trash interview thing is I hate heavy editing. I really hate like I'll
Mm,
take the awkward pauses, I'll take stuttering, I'll take all that shit. Like I don't like perfectionism. And you can tell a person who like trash interviewer is like another thing way too interested in how they look as opposed to the actual conversation that's in front of them. People who are like, you know, they're so done up and they have like the outfit or whatever, or they're like, and you can tell that they're sometimes you can tell that they're fishing for certain information where it's like, oh, and you see this happen with like, let's say someone got beat up in a parking lot or something, and then they're like, yeah, so about the fight, and it's like, I told you I didn't want to talk about that. How do I did that voice? I told you I didn't want to talk about that shit, man. They take the mic off, they walk out, and it's like, okay, either the press person told you not to talk about that, or you knew not to talk about that,
yeah.
and you just wanted to get the walkout on camera. I think that's trash because they're not respecting the individual in front of them. But like, yeah, what do you think?
So that's interesting. Before I get into that, I have okay. So my friend Ken, he's this dude, and I kind of like when like I'm iffy about an interview, I ask him, should I interview them? Because he always tells me that I shouldn't interview everybody. Like everybody shouldn't be on my platform. For example, I was about to interview this one guy. Can't even remember his name to be honest with you, but he's like a foreign like Asian dude, I think he was.
Is it Kim Jong
And
Un?
hey man, that was fire. I don't care what
Oh
nobody. I would have
my
definitely
fucking
used that
god!
nigga.
You the dudes outside your house pointing guns at the Russians and shit. God damn, you had Kim Jong Un lineup. So yeah, what happened?
Hey, I'm gonna let people know if I ever got a Kim Jong Un interview, I will fly to North Korea.
Please don't ever do that,
That would
dude.
be fire
Please,
interview, bro.
please don't. You will be dead within the fucking week, dude. You're gonna say the wrong joke. You're gonna
Yeah,
say a joke, and then everything like
nah.
records, and you're gonna be like Mr. Krabs, like, oh fuck, get dragged out.
If he can be cool with a weird nigga like Dennis Rodman, I can definitely give him a good interview, man. I think that'd be a fun thing right there,
I'll
man.
watch it, but I'm not gonna expect to see you back in the US ever again. You're gonna be in the fucking rice fields, fucking mining, dude. You're gonna be mining for rice the rest of your life.
That's funny. But no, ironically, this Asian man might be worse than Kim Jong Un somehow. So this Asian dude that I was going to interview, he wants to legalize pedophilia.
No!
That's his
Stop!
whole thing.
Stop! Okay, dude. All right.
Hey, I don't even think
What?
Kim Jong Un would do that. I don't even think Kim Jong Un.
Oh my fucking! Yeah, I'm gonna tell you right now, this is fucking horrible, and I'm gonna tell you, I hope you never talk to this guy. But if you did, what would happen? I'll start it. I'll open up an incognito browser and I'll watch it just for the laughs. But it's
I,
good. Please
I
don't.
did not. I did not do it, but I wanted to do it because I got in this whole thing where I was like, you know what? I want to start
He's a
interviewing.
pedophile, dude.
Look. This is my thing.
No, there's no. Go ahead.
Listen,
No.
I wanted to start interviewing people I morally disagree with. But I thought about it, and I was like,
It's not
maybe
morals, dude. Oh,
pedophilia is a little too far, and I shouldn't have this nigga on my channel.
yeah,
I
there's
mean, we could do
yeah,
that shit.
there's some things that we don't ever tolerate. I don't.
So so when you talk about like asking certain stuff and knowing you would get a reaction out of people, there's certain people that I want to like have a conversation with, and not like a hey, you're my buddy conversation. Like not press them either, but just be honest. Like hey, I don't agree with you doing this right here, but I want to have a conversation about it. For example, I interviewed a Trump supporter, right?
Oh,
But this guy, pretty funny Trump supporter, have to give
okay.
it. Pretty funny dude. He does the public interviews or whatever, and like he'll go on the street and he'll talk about Trump, and like he won't get people to like vote for Trump, but he'll just be like, hey, I'm just asking, I'm just trying to get you to say Trump isn't that bad, like he isn't that great, but just not that bad. And he has like funny interviews, so I was like, you know what, let me try to interview this guy. Pretty good interview, and we talked about stuff we disagreed with. It went well, and I think that you have a point where it gets to a point where if you're going to just like trying to get a reaction out of that person, you're reaching for views or whatnot, and that's not like it's like no integrity. You know what I'm saying? You're just
You
trying to get the view or whatnot. I'm not really into that right there. But
Right. I know you're way better than that. And I'm going to tell you this too. Here's a little piece of advice. I've been in a situation, and I'm not going to say it's your specific situation, but like when I started out, I was interviewing everybody. Like I would interview, like there was some chick I went to college with, and I interviewed her boyfriend because I knew he liked Boba Fett. And I was like, okay, well, that was the criteria for that was the bar. He likes Boba Fett, so let me interview. It was fucking terrible. So like, at some point you are gonna have to, and this is gonna be great for you. You're gonna get to the point where you can start saying no to people.
Mm.
They're gonna start contacting you, and you got to start saying no. But I think before then, yeah, you gotta draw your line somewhere.
Oh no, there's definitely been already times where certain people have asked for interviews. I'm like, no, like there were like certain like porn stars supposed to interview, and I was like, I can't do this. Like, I
Wait,
don't
why?
want to.
Because they're weird.
No, it was just because like they were like cam models and I didn't really know them, and I was like, I don't know what I'm gonna ask you. Like, hey, so you popped your coochie yesterday. Like I don't know
Yeah.
what I'm gonna ask you. Like, you're not like a person that like okay, so when I interview porn stars, either somebody I know, somebody that's really popular, or somebody that's like been requested heavy. I could do that. But if you're just like some like obscure porn star, like I don't know what I'm supposed to talk to you about. Like what is there? You know what I'm saying? Like what is there to talk about?
And you might
So
become the like they might turn you into like the porn interviewer guy, which I mean, I guess that's not a horrible thing to have attached to you. I watched half of your interview with the fuck is her name? This damn lady, this white chick.
Lena Paul?
Yeah, that was good. She's like very smart,
Yeah.
and I think that's they're people. So like there's a spectrum. Some porn stars are just kind of like, I mean, they're dumb just like humans, and some of them are like super duper smart, like Sasha Grey, who's like,
Yeah.
I mean, if you hear this chick talking, she's smarter than most people. It's like insanity. You know what I mean?
I just quickly want to say shout out to my like one of my closest women friends, Terry. She watched that Lena Paul interview and she was like, "Oh, she was smart."
Oh, wait! Like she's fucking like a damaged child.
Yeah, she was hoping for like a dumb porn star. She was like, "Oh, she was smart." She's like, "I didn't want to see that."
It's a silly thing, though. It's a weird thing to want to or to expect them to be dumb, because it's like they're doing this thing that's risky in terms of our social mores right now. But it's like everybody watches it,
Yeah.
right? So like it's this underground thing. It's like trillion gazillion dollar industry, but somehow we're not allowed to openly talk about this portion of our life, which is a big problem, because like I can go into public talking about, like, you can go to Chipotle talking about how you hunted or what kind of guns you bought, or I can talk about Walking Dead, right, or Game of Thrones, how someone got their head fucking chopped off. But if I talk about two adults having consensual sex, I'm talking like not even porn. If I talk about any sort of sexual act that is consensual, it's like, and I'm it's a weird thing, because even right now there is a tension, even knowing that you're recording yourself talking about this thing that's completely natural, hopefully very consensual, but it's like we're way more comfortable with violence in this country. And I think I mean, I think that's one of our big issues is that we don't openly talk about these things. We're not comfortable with ourselves sexually.
Are you into, speaking of violence, this kind of quick deviation, are you into guns?
What do you mean, like fictional guns?
No, I mean
That
like
should be your answer, right?
the like
Like
real
you
deal
mean like
gun.
cyber, like anime pistols and stuff. I love Gundam. The real guns, I love them in concept. I don't want to hold one. I'm scared. I'm sweating just thinking about it. So I'm good. I don't.
It's really interesting. I want to get into guns, but I'm scared because I don't want to like use it and like I didn't have to. It's like you have it there, and it's kind of like that. It's a scary thing.
I
But
don't. I get really.
They're very interesting to me, and I'm from Florida, and crazy. Everybody has a gun down here. So it's really, I don't know. It's something that I'm interested in, but it's a scary thought.
I went to see Chappelle and dude, speaking of Killer Mike, I mean Chappelle is just the fucking best. Have you seen him live before?
Yeah, never seen him live.
Do it. Do like really he's the best stand-up I've ever seen. He's probably the best right now. So
Mm.
he was saying that like he was talking about black gun ownership and he was like if every black person went and legally started buying guns right now, we end the gun conversation in this country. Like NRA, they would lose their mind. Like if we go like
Oh, fast.
legally, just like very calmly go down to your gun shop. Oh, I'd like one, please. Oh, I'm legal. I have a license. Yeah, sure. I just want one, please, and give me 50 bullets. They would lose their fucking mind, and it would be like, oh, let's can we sanctions? Oh, I'm
Well,
telling
I
you,
I want to talk about that. I have two things to say about that because that's really interesting, and I literally was just thinking about this. So there's this Comedy Central show. It's called I forget, but I know the comedian name is Jordan Klepper, and he basically goes around and he just goes around America and just like talk about just problems going on. And so he was talking about gun control, and the actual episode hasn't came out, but it was a preview, and he was interviewing like some rednecks. And my thing is about that whole gun control thing. It's like when people are like talking about it, they only talk to rednecks and people who like, oh, I need my gun, damn
yeah,
America. But
right.
I think this whole, even in the whole black movement, this whole Black Lives Matter, the whole black get up movement, I feel like the people that are left out of that conversation and the gun conversation are people in the hood. Because I feel like those people need to be acquainted for as well, because those people aren't carrying guns just for for the LOLs and the fun of it. Those people fear for those lives. So I feel like to have a real conversation about guns, you have to talk about the people who are carrying those guns because they feel they need protection, not the good old boys living out on the farm who really don't need to shoot nobody. But I'm talking about the guy that's riding around his neighborhood with his daughter, and the nigga that he just shot at, I mean, the nigga that he don't like across the street, you know what I'm saying? He might see that car and he like, oh, I'm finna shoot it up, not even knowing he got his daughter in the car. Don't even care he got his daughter in the car. He got to ride around with a gun just for that, So I feel like we don't really put that in a conceptualized manner for people in the hood, because I feel like that's a very, very serious danger for taking away guns, because those people, they sometimes even have it legally in their name and they need it for protection. So I don't know, it's just a heartbreaking thing to me. And quick question, because you brought up everybody getting black people getting guns. Do you know the first time in America where gun control was first seriously talked about?
No.
So, fun fact, in around like 1967, 1968-ish, the first gun law was passed the first gun control law was passed in California because the Black Panthers were strapped up, like walking around, they're policing people with the guns or whatever. And what's really funny about it? The NRA was for that bill getting passed. That's the funniest part. So when you say the NRA be going crazy, they were in favor of that bill getting passed because they seen all these black people, oh, nigger guns, you got to get out the street. So yeah, that would definitely be a thing. The NRA is already flipped out when they seen black people with guns, so it wouldn't be any different now.
And I think with the excuse me, the hood was like what you were saying is this is a clear example of just these people not being seen as valuable. It's sad, but it's like, I mean, you think about what happens in inner cities, and it's not just about blackness. They're not seen as valuable. Like whatever is their bodies and their minds. It's just sort of like, oh, well, that's just what they do. That's
Yeah.
just what happens to them. Like they just get shot up. That's part of the plan. You know, it's fine. You know, it's like
Yeah.
it's just one of those things that we just expect to happen, and it's okay. We're somehow like we are somehow implying that it's okay based on how we react to it every day. I guess I don't know.
I mean, think about it. So I always like, maybe I'm wrong and I don't know definitions, but a mass shooting is when a lot of people get shot at once, right?
Yeah,
Or am I wrong? I don't know.
yeah. I mean, yeah. There's a mass shoot. Yeah,
Like the basic definition for that, right? So when you talk about black people getting shot and like people just are people from the hood specifically getting shot and nobody cares, I would assume a mass shooting is a drive-by. So if 7 people get shot up at
yeah.
once, that's also a mass shooting. But people don't consider that a mass shooting. I feel like also a drive-by. Loki, it sounds cooler. It sounds like, oh, drive-by sounds fun, but a mass shooting is like, wow, that's like genocide. It's like the words. It has like a different connotation behind it. It's like mass shooting back, drive by us what the niggers do, you know? So I
Yeah, drive
think it's
by. Yeah.
really, I think it's very interesting that a thing like a drive-by wouldn't be considered a mass shooting. You don't see that on the news, like, oh my gosh, like 8 people, including a child, shot in a drive-by. But when like,
Oh, okay.
white kids get shot in school, it's like, oh my gosh, we need to take away guns. But it's like, yo, when you see black people getting shot up, kids getting shot up in drive-bys, you see just either a kid, like a kid a couple months ago in Jacksonville down here, caught a stray bullet in the head. He was like 2 years old, and he was left in like a coma
Oh
for like
my
months.
god.
You know what I'm saying? And
Oh.
like stuff like that, it's like it hurts my soul because it's like it's my people, and it's like we're getting hurt, and you don't even see any national like attention for that. And it's just like, do people really care about black people? And I honestly don't think they do.
I'll tell you the really satanic stuff that will pretty much bookend this conversation about guns, and it's really creepy to me. It's like you talk about Sandy Hook. I mean, these motherfuckers don't care. Like the government does not care. Because I mean, like obviously, like black people are just kind of but like these are white kids, suburban white kids, children getting killed. Like nothing's gonna. I'm not very optimistic about gun control in this country. After that happened, I mean, it's really like, I mean, what else? I mean, it's very sad.
Yeah, guns are really it's a very like interesting and crazy debate. But also I kind of wanted to talk about something that you brought up, and I'm gonna forget to talk about it if I don't. It was Blade Runner.
Oh yeah.
I
Okay.
don't know if you're familiar with this YouTuber, but there's a YouTuber. His name is Bill Wirtz. You ever heard of him?
No.
So Bill Wirtz is a guy. He went viral. He has like 60 million views on this one video where he basically does the history of Japan. And after that, people were like, yo, this video is amazing. So he did a history of the world. And he's a
Okay.
really weird guy. It's not like he's just doing like basic history. He's like singing in the video and he's like doing weird jokes. It's really weird. Like I'm gonna show it to
Okay.
you. I think you'll find it interesting because he like does like art within the video. It's really insane stuff.
Cool.
So I interview him and I ask him, I think that there's a lot of people who miss little intricacies and very small stuff, and we don't focus on that. His rebuttal was, we don't focus on the larger things in life. We kind of just take them for granted and we just go over it. And I asked him for example, and he said the lighting in Blade Runner. The lighting in Blade Runner is pretty like, it's obvious. Like you can see the light, like the light is there, and it's pretty obvious. So people don't really take appreciation for the why is this woman keep calling me? I'm so sorry.
What is going on? Gee,
Let me hold on. So yes, like I was saying, in the middle of Blade in the
just
Blade
answer
Runner,
on the fucking show. That's what I would do.
yeah, this is going crazy right now. So yes, the lighting in Blade Runner. He says that the lighting is very, very like
Yo.
I'm gonna call this young lady. Hold on. This is what people expect out of my YouTube channel anyway, right? I just call people in the middle of the interview. Who cares, man? It's an African woman. I'm finna insult her. I'm finna insult her heritage. Hold on. I'm going to insult her heritage if she pick up the phone.
Oh my god.
Excuse
Dude,
me.
put it outside, dude.
I'm trying to do an interview right now. You keep calling, so I'm gonna call you later.
Oh my fucking god, dude.
Yeah, okay, she hung up, so I couldn't insult her African heritage. funny. You want to know a funny joke I told her one time? She told me that
Jesus.
it's really funny. I was talking to her one time, and she said that her dad used to bite her cheeks, and I was like, "Your dad used to bite your cheeks?" And she said, "Yeah, I had chubby cheeks," and I was like, "Wow, you fucking Africans and your cannibalism. That's really ridiculous."
That's
And yeah,
dumb.
she hung up in my face. So shout out to her. But anyway, Blade Runner. He says the lighting in Blade Runner is so fantastic, but it's something that's very obvious, but people just skip over. He said that the lighting in Blade Runner is something that influences him. Because I also asked him, is there any details in life that's outside of your art that you usually do that inspires you? And he said the lighting in Blade Runner. So that goes for me, or that goes to you to ask, is there
Mm.
anything in life? It could be TV, it could be walking down the street looking at a tree, it could be anything. But is there anything that influences what you do? It could be little small intricacies, or it could be something big that really influences, or something that has recently influenced you. It could be anything.
Mm. That is really a big, big question.
Yeah.
Something, I think, excuse me, I was really influenced by Flying Lotus's latest album, Flamagra.
Mm.
And I'm putting out a really weird video about it this weekend, actually, Saturday, June 8th. If any of you are interested in seeing that, it'll be up by that point. But I was really influenced by that because it's such a different, weird album, and it made me think about it was like a role-playing game, like a Final Fantasy album or
Mm.
something. And it put me in a headspace of like remembering what it was like to be, I don't know, 13, 14, playing all these Final Fantasy games. And like those games are so influential on me. Like I can't even tell you how deep I'm into that sort of thing. Even if like to the to the extent that like when I'm walking around and if I have no headphones in, like I'll just hear like role playing game, video game music and like boss fight music in my head and stuff. So like Flamagra sort of brought that back for me.
Well, I mean, I think I have to ask you, are you playing any games right now?
Uh what am I I'm not a big game player these days. Like I'm not like I used to be. I'm playing a little bit of The Witcher 3, if you're familiar
Mm.
with that.
Yeah,
Uh
definitely. I own Witcher 3.
Man, that game is deep.
Yeah, I got stuck at like not that far in, and I just quit. Not gonna I gave up, man. I gave up.
What was happening in the game?
I don't even remember. It's like I'm supposed to be finding some like king's like daughter or something, and I really don't know where to go. I've been trying to look
Yeah.
for his daughter, bruh, and I don't know where she at, man. I just
Where
gave
is
up,
she?
man. I just gave up. But yeah, Witcher 3, from what I played, it was a pretty interesting game.
Yeah, your hair grows, like your beard will grow and your hair changes and shit. I heard Red Dead Redemption 2
Yeah,
is really
that's what
good,
happens in Red Dead. That's what happens in Red Dead. Like your beard.
but that's just one of those games. I love Rockstar, love the Red Dead series, but that's just one of those games that like I think I always know, and like once I pick that up, it's like I'm not gonna get any of my other shit done.
It's going to
I
consume your life.
Yeah, I got like paintings to do. I got other shit, so I'm gonna wait until it's like $20 and get back into that.
Well, if I had to suggest a game, whenever you're like, let's say if you're just bored, you got a week where you're just not doing anything, I just beat this game called Prey. It's a really good game. I don't know if you've ever heard that before.
Is it the one where like you turn the world upside down?
Uh, you're like
What am I?
kind of outer space. I don't know if I think that's
Prey.
something. It's Prey.
Oh yeah, I heard about. Is it like you can turn into organic material? You can like turn into aliens or something?
You can like, well, you can turn into like when you get further in the game, you can like turn into like inanimate objects. So like to like hide from like monsters, you can turn into like an iPhone
Oh.
charger or something. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah.
You play
It's
some
pretty
weird ass games. I always wanted to be a charger.
ridiculous.
Oh my
But
god,
it's really,
these are the
really
realities
fun.
we escape to when we want to be a phone. Let me just lay
Pretty
there.
much. Pretty much, man. Pretty much. But yeah, I don't know. That's a really fun game. But yeah, Final Fantasy is a game I've never played, but I've always heard good things about it, man. I feel like I'm asleep. feel like I'm sleeping
It's
on it.
really good. I don't know if I would recommend the old ones to you. Like you might want to get into one of the newer ones, like FF15. Um, it's I don't know. Like what I like the most about it is like it's quantifying. It's quantifying the human experience in a way. I mean, that's more like it's more like a D&D thing. Have you played Dungeons and Dragons at all?
I haven't.
I think you'd be really interested in it because it's like you'll have a situation where it's like you walk up to somebody and by the way, I gotta head out in probably like 5 minutes. Hope that's all right.
Okay, yeah, let's
Yeah.
go.
You walk up to someone in a grocery store, and the person in the grocery store has a flaming sword, and you want to get that sword from them. If you have a high enough charisma score, you could literally talk that person into just giving you their sword
Mm.
instead of having to kill them for it. If you're a goon, if you're just a barbarian, you're gonna have to kill them for that sword. But just the idea of like using numbers, like your charisma score is a 9 and theirs is a 5, you're gonna be like, hey, I really need that sword. My mom is sick, and I'm gonna cure her with the magical powers of that. And they'll be like, okay, and they just give it to you, and it's just that easy. I like the idea of quantifying things that way.
I'll definitely have to check. Were you talking about Dungeons and Dragons or are you talking about Final Fantasy?
Dungeons and Dragons, Final
That's
Fantasy, it's less intricate than that, but the same idea of like you get into a fight. Same thing as Witcher. It's like my strength score versus yours. I'm hitting you, and the numbers go up and down and all that stuff. Super nerdy shit, but I some of the best stories.
Nah, I definitely have to check it out. Is there anything else you have to say before we get out of here, man?
Swag 420, blaze it up. You know what I'm saying? We in the streets. We with them shooters, okay? No. What do I what do I really want to say? Uh. Thank you all for thank you for talking to me, Eric. Everyone on Kanye to the. I guess I also want to say my channel is pretty cool and it's pretty weird, and we do creative stuff all the time. You should show up there because there's a lot of just bizarre stuff going on where like I'm going to be turning into this persona where I'm like jumping in and outside of this alternate dimension that I've created for myself. It's gonna be. I guarantee you will have never seen what I'm about to do on my channel. It's gonna get really fucking weird.
Oh, well, I'm gonna be tuned in.
Thank you. Thank you.
For everybody watching, I say what I mean. I mean what I say. Haters are gonna hate. Players are gonna play.